The Equalizer is the title of the film. Robert is seen in the opening moments of the film living alone in an apartment and getting ready for work. Robert is an extremely disciplined individual. Robert enjoys getting along with his co-workers at his job as a home furnishings salesman. And when he needs to rest, he runs into Ralphie. After finishing his shift at work in the evening, Robert heads home. Ralphie had requested Robert for assistance in helping him lose weight because he had an exam for a security guard job in a week. Robert went to a restaurant close to his flat to finish reading the book he had started while feeling lonely as he was reading it. She was referring to the character in Robert's book. Robert responds, admitting that he only just cast the bait. Robert is informed by this girl that she recently purchased a tool to assist with songwriting. She is assured of her talent by Robert. The next day, when Robert runs into the girl again, she tells him to tell her what would happen to the fish in the book. So he does. Robert responds that the man caught her, but the shark ate the fish when she asks him about the fish mentioned in the book and if the man actually caught it or not. Unexpectedly, an automobile pulls up in front of the eatery. The girl then receives a call from a man named Slavy asking her to leave the restaurant and head to the car. Slavky was reprimanding the girl, so she begs him to let her stay in the establishment. She sobbed as she left the restaurant. Slavy was obviously a pimp, forcing the girl to comply with his demands. The girl then exits the eatery and enters the automobile with the man who was standing by for her. Robert observed all that took place. Beginning on the second day, we witness Robert assisting Ralphie with her weight loss. Robert visits the eatery. He discovered the girl in the cafe as usual, and he then went to bring her dinner, but this time the girl decided to sit at Robert's table instead. Robert observed signs of past beatings on her face. The name of this girl was Elena. He then queries her. What has become of her? She informed him that the person who hit her was the man she got into the car with. Then she offers Robert a CD that has songs on it that are sung in her voice. She is informed by Robert that she is not required to work at a job she does not enjoy and that she has other employment options. She warns him that this is not an easy task. She then inquires about Robert's wife, but Robert responds that he is a widower. Robert tells her that he is aiming to finish reading 100 books, much as his wife used to do, and that they have been talking all day. As they were going, a car pulled up in front of them, and a man got out. He slapped Elena and put her in the car, and Elena questioned what had happened. Please don't intervene, Robert. Slavy hands Robert his business card and advises him to contact the next day if he wants a girl who is better than this one. Elena was not there when Robert arrived at the restaurant, but he was certain that she had been abused. She was admitted to the hospital as a result. Robert is informed by Elena's friend that Slavy assaulted her. Tells her that he is aiming to finish reading 100 books, much as his wife used to do, and that they have been talking all day. As they were going, a car pulled up in front of them, and a man got out. He slapped Elena and put her in the car, and Elena questioned what had happened. Please don't intervene, Robert. Slavy hands Robert his business card and advises him to contact the next day if he wants a girl who is better than this one. Elena was not there when Robert arrived at the restaurant, but he was certain that she had been abused. She was admitted to the hospital as a result. Robert is informed by Elena's friend that Slavy assaulted her. News of Slavik and his gang's murder had spread. Teddy, a shady-looking man, is seen exiting the aircraft, getting into a car, and driving off toward the accident site. This man started to predict what would happen on the day of the accident as soon as he got to the accident scene. We are aware that this person is an employee of Pushkin Slavik, as Pushkin was the gang's leader. They were being helped by corrupt police officers, including Frank. This individual demands that the dishonest police officer comply with his demands and divulge details regarding the murder case involving Slavic and his gang. Robert discovered Ralphie had resigned the following day while at work. Robert then approaches him and finds out that he was working in his mother's restaurant. Ralphie claims that the fire was caused by an electrical fault because that is what caused it to burn, but Robert knows that the fire was caused by an act, not an electrical short, and Ralphie informs Robert that he doesn't want trouble. Robert is asked by Ralphie to assist in the cleanup. Observed two police officers extorting money from and blackmailing Ralphie's mother. Because Ralphie's mother didn't give them the money in a timely manner, they are the ones who set the building on fire. Robert begged the two policemen to return the money after they departed and tried to take pictures of what transpired, but they stopped him and tried to stop him. Teddy forces Frank to accompany him to meet the other gangs as Robert beats them for attempting to grab his phone because he had recorded them. Robert also threatened to expose the video if they would not return the money to Ralphie's mother. The Irishman sought to identify the perpetrator of Slavic's murder among these gangs. John Teddy was aware that John and his crew were unrelated to what took place. Teddy killed him and his crew nonetheless because John is out of control. Teddy is speaking to Elena's hospital roommate's acquaintance in order to pass along a message to the other gangs. When he questioned her about Elena's location, she lied and said she didn't know, prompting Pushkin to phone Teddy and inquire more. Teddy informs Pushkin that if he can identify the gang responsible for the Slavi murder, they did not all commit the crime. That he will soon be able to learn whether it was done by a professional. Elena is being questioned by Teddy because he is aware that she lied to him. She learns that he was informed by everyone that she was close to Elena and knew everything about her. She explains everything to him and lets him know that a man has come to see her. She then tells Teddy what this man looks like. Teddy then murdered this girl. Ralphie was able to land a job as a security guard after the two dishonest cops returned the money to his mother, as we can see from their actions. Teddy was able to determine Robert's appearance after he helped him pass the test. And were aware that he had gone into the casino where Soli was, but they did not witness him leave the following day. Robert's co-worker was being compelled to give the man the cash by him threatening her with a gun. Robert gives the cash to the individual who also desired the girl's engagement ring. There were children present at the workplace, so Robert was unable to strike the robber. He therefore requested that she surrender the ring to the thief. After the thief fled, Robert located him and was able to get the car's license plate number. The girl discovers her ring at her workplace the following day. Teddy manages to enter Robert's apartment, and we know that Robert was the one who shot and killed the robber and gave the ring back to the girl. When Robert noticed that the flat had been entered, Teddy, who was standing in front of him, appeared and informed him that he was looking into the murder of 5 Russians. Teddy questions Robert about the incident, but Robert replies that he was actually there to have dinner with his girlfriend. Teddy wonders if Robert had any knowledge of the occurrence. Teddy asks Robert if he knew the woman in the picture of Elena's dead friend. Robert claims to know her and that he is trying to tell him that he killed the woman and that he has knowledge of his descriptions from her. Teddy's refusal to provide over any identification cards indicated to Robert that he was not a police officer. When Teddy appears, he believes it was because he was a police officer. Robert who killed Slavi and then asks his men to monitor him and gather information on him. Teddy informs his guys that there were cameras all around Robert's home and that the information they had about him is untrue. Then he requests that they bring Robert to his house so that he can be questioned about his employer. Teddy dispatches a person to Robert who was disguised as a restaurant employee. Because the man's hand does not show that he was a worker, Robert can tell that he is not a worker. Robert was able to murder the individual who made the threat against him. Robert disconnects, and then he leaves the restaurant. Teddy and Frank are in a car in front of the restaurant when Robert first notices their power. He then removes his phone and snaps a picture of them. Teddy then goes for Robert, who managed to get away after punching a Teddy employee. He was able to determine that the individual was a police officer. The police officer's phone and badge are taken by Robert. When Robert arrived at his house, we saw that the individual who was impersonating a restaurant employee had shot him in the foot. Teddy's crew visited Robert's flat, but they were unable to locate him. Teddy knew Robert was keeping an eye on them because he could be seen nearby using the cameras he had previously installed to monitor the apartment. He therefore warned the cops that were working with him to find him or he would find others who could. Then Robert visits Susan, a close acquaintance who once held a position of authority in the state. When Robert finally succeeds in getting a photo of Teddy and shows Susan, he requests that she provide him information about him. Susan agreed to deliver him Teddy-related facts. Robert's death was staged, so we are aware that he was hiding. Susan can then present facts regarding Teddy and Pushkin, a member of the Russian mafia. Additionally, Pushkin has strong political ties. Teddy also works for him. She informs him that Teddy is intelligent and unreliable. She also gives him information about the dishonest police officers. Frank, who resigned his job after what was working with Teddy among those crooked police. Susan informs her husband that Robert did not arrive to request assistance. But the Russian mafia chose to confront without first seeking authorization. Frank is located by Robert, who then questions him to learn all there is to know about Pushkin. Frank informs Robert about a location where Pushkin's illicit funds are being gathered. Robert, one of Pushkin's new guys, comes with Frank. And he promises them that he will oust them from this location. Robert was then able to take the gun away from a gang member. After giving the employees the money that was at the location, Robert then ordered all of the staff to leave. Robert then instructs Frank to phone the police and report what transpired. When the police arrive, they apprehend Frank and discover all the illegal money as well as all of Pushkin's men bound. Teddy was conversing with someone inside the restaurant. And he promises Teddy that he will track out Robert. This person then uses the restroom. Robert then approaches and takes a seat in front of Teddy. And we are aware that he murdered the man who was seated next to Teddy. Teddy is instructed by Robert to contact Pushkin and request that he end the expedition. But Teddy declined. Teddy is informed by Robert about a Russian woman who has 5 kids. Then he treated an orphan as if he were one of his own children after adopting him. The dad and his wife were murdered in their bed one day by this child, though. And that nobody was aware of this until now, Robert informs Teddy, indicating that the case wasn't adequately investigated because it was likely the man's adoptive child who killed the victims. And this child's fear of being abandoned was the reason they were slaughtered. Robert then addresses Teddy by his real name, Nikolai. Nikolai tells Robert that he has no sentiments and that he is not weak after Robert hinted to him that he was the one who killed these 2 individuals when he was young. Robert then exits and leaves his phone number. Robert continues to clarify in case Nikolai decides to abandon the assignment. Pushkin's operations and everything he and those with him do and all this. Information he took via USB. And those with him do and all this. Information he took via USB. When Robert discovers the whereabouts of an oil canister held by Pushkin that he had stolen from Frank, Robert destroys it. Pushkin phones Nikolai and urges him to take immediate action. Pushkin is informed by Nikolai that he has assembled a new crew and plans to assassinate Robert. Robert's co-workers are being held prisoner by Nikolai after he visits Robert's place of employment. Nikolai convinces Ralphie to speak with Robert in order to entice Robert away. Robert rushes to the location to make sure they take them hostage, and Nikolai orders his men to assassinate Robert. Robert can enter the area without Nikolai's men noticing if they spot him. There is music being played by Robert. The group begins looking after learning that Robert is in the area. Ralphie is led by one of the gang members to the location of the noise. When they get there, Ralphie informs him that the noise is coming from the security room. Ralphie helps Robert kill the man while he is hidden. The gang members are ambushed by Robert, who then murders them one by one. Only Nikolai was left, and he was on the verge of killing Ralphie, but Robert was able to take out Nikolai and prolong Ralphie's life by 3 days. Later in a palace with a lot of security. Russia is where we watch Pushkin. While taking a shower. During their talk, Robert advises him to stay put while hiding, opening the water tap and burying electrical lines.